A new agreement between the Defense and State Departments aims to help military spouses living with service members overseas to get the okay to work remotely for eligible federal positions. To learn more, Federal News Network's Eric White spoke to the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Military Community and Family Policy, Patricia Barron.
What I can tell you is that the DETO program operated under an interim agreement between the DoD and the State Department since last July of 2022, actually. So the interim agreement, it was only designed to bridge the gap until both departments would be able to create a more permanent agreement that could replace it. And we've really been working hard on that for almost the past year. In partnership with the State Department and the First Lady's Joining Forces team, we took the opportunity to apply the lessons learned that we had from the interim agreement and strengthen the DETO program to better serve our military community. So I guess you could say that it was an effort between the Department of State, the Department of Defense, and the First Lady's Joining Forces team. But really, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary Austin, had already made taking care of people one of his top priorities. And under that priority, economic security and military spouse employment was a highlight. And so this fit right into the TCOP, as we like to call it, priority that the Secretary had provided. One of the things that's important about this agreement is that it allows military spouses to keep their federal jobs and telework when assigned overseas, because it's so critical to their economic security. As you mentioned in your intro, we do move around a lot. And I know I myself moved 14 times in 30 years. And what this DETO agreement does is it allows the federal employee who's assigned to a domestic position to telework at an approved overseas work site for a limited period of time. So you really have to have the service member has to have orders where they can have an accompanied tour, and that and the remote employment is available, or they have the opportunity to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. And so how can military partners utilize this new agreement to help themselves find work when they are living with a service member who is serving overseas or at one of the bases across the U.S.?
So what does a spouse do when they get PCS orders? They're employed by a federal agency. They're either a military spouse or a DoD civilian spouse. What do they do? The first thing they have to do is go talk to their supervisor to find out if remote work is even an option. Not all positions are. So once the spouse and the supervisor do come to an agreement that they can indeed work remotely, then you start the DETO process. And to find out more about that, you can go to Military OneSource and type in DETO in the search rectangular box, and it'll come up and it'll kind of give you the Q&As on what you need to do to kind of start the process. It's not a guaranteed approval, but this agreement has made it much easier for there to be hopefully an approval so that the spouse can work remotely overseas.
Gotcha. And so we cover a lot of programs with acronyms here at Federal News Network, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to define what is the DETO program.
That's really great. Thank you. So DETO stands for Domestic Employees Teleworking Overseas. And really what it is the State Department has the responsibility to make sure that our federal employees are secure and safe when they are overseas. And by making sure that all the processes that they require to be able to work overseas are in place, then you would have a DETO agreement that legally allows you to work overseas for the federal government.
Okay. And so within this agreement, what role, I guess, would the State Department be playing then? You all are giving the assistance in reaching out and, making sure that military spouses know about this. What does the State Department get out of this?
Yeah, well, you consider the fact that there are probably military spouses that work for the State Department. And if they get orders to go overseas, they don't lose an employee. They get to keep that very well-trained employee and to continue to, serve for them. But the other thing that it does is that the memorandum of agreement, one of the beauties of it is that it really did simplify the process for being able to say yes. There's an awful lot of intricacies in the memorandum. I won't go into them, but what it does is it allows for the State Department to make sure that those employees are safe and secure, and it allows for that military spouse or DoD civilian spouse to continue with their career progression, which is a win-win for everybody.
Understood. Okay. And so with, the increase in remote work inside and outside of government, has that made it easier for military spouses to A, find work, or B, keep jobs when they do move?
We hope so, Eric. That certainly is our goal, because I would say that before COVID, remote work wasn't as popular. People just didn't really kind of think that it was something that was very doable. However, COVID taught us that it was indeed very doable and actually was a great way to retain employees. So I really do feel that with the increase of remote work across the country, certainly within the department as well, we do find more opportunities for military spouses to find remote work, which is great.
We're speaking with Patricia Barron. She is Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Military, Community, and Family Policy. So this has been a big priority for many administrations and the DoD as a whole. Are there other efforts that include other partnerships that you all are seeking out? Could be with other agencies or other organizations to help with this cause of making sure that military spouses are able to find work.
That is something that we, especially at Military, Community, and Family Policy, have been very keen on for many, many years. You're right. And I would say that besides this amazing memorandum of agreement with the Department of State, we also have within the DoD many resources and opportunities for military spouses to find employment. I would say for any spouse, whether they're here within the United States or overseas, the first place they should look is at the local installation level. Many installations have something called the Employment Resource Program, which is an office on the installation where they can go get support on resume building, get support on interview tactics, but most importantly, be connected to those local employers to hopefully find employment. But if you don't really find that that's helpful to you because you're looking more broadly or it just isn't a good fit for you, you can always go to the Department's Spouse Education and Career Opportunities. We like to call it SECO. You know how the DoD loves their acronyms. The SECO program provides high-quality access to numerous and virtual initiatives that allows a spouse to access anywhere that they are. It's done through the Military OneSource website, and that is a 365, 24/7 website where we answer phones, answer chat. You can find information through the website via your computer. And it provides you with all sorts of resources. But most importantly, the SECO program provides you with career coaches, no kidding, certified career coaches that will work with you free of charge to help you find the type of employment that you need. Now, let's say that you are wanting employment and you're overseas and you just can't find it. One of the things that we like to encourage spouses to do is to still engage with the SECO career coaches or the SECO program to think about upskilling, adding more skills to your resume, thinking about maybe adding more education or more, or really refine your resume in order to hit the ground running when you get back to the United States. If I may, I'd like to give you that website. That would be the MySECO website, which is the one-stop access point for multiple resources and tools and information. So visit myseco.militaryonesource.mil. And you'll find all that you need there. It's a really great website.
Yeah, we'll make sure to include a link of it on our website as well. Turning the spotlight a little bit back on you for a second, I had picked something up, mentioning all the times that you had moved. Were you yourself a military spouse, or what was your background? And how did you find yourself supporting this cause in the DoD?
Yeah, I am a military spouse. My husband was active duty for 30 years. We met in college, and therefore I was along for the entire 30-year ride and raised 3 kids in the military community. What I could say is that very typical of military spouses, I was a jack of all trades and, master of none, because I had to reinvent myself everywhere that I went. Starting out as a registered nurse, every time I went to a different state, I had to get a different license, but eventually found myself in advocacy because I felt so strongly about the challenges that myself and my colleagues went through as military family members. I wanted to do what I could to make it better for the next generation of military spouses. And that's how I found myself here.
Patricia Barron, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Military, Community, and Family Policy, speaking with Federal News Network's Eric White. Find this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive and subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.